What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video, clicking that button down below. And if we get 500 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and we actually got 19 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get 19 picks right like me, win more bets, and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure you join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $4,150 just yesterday. Another member who won $425 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Ghost the God 585 who said appreciate it. And shouts out to Joshua Paul Z50 who said just found your page. I'm going to follow today's plays and hope to win. So shouts out to them. And if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is none other than Jaden McDaniels. So Jaden McDaniels, great player as we all know, and he has done a fantastic job so far this season. But this one is actually for points and rebounds. So this one is actually a combo one for 20.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Jaden McDaniels, we have seen him go on the under in 1 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see on December 15th, faced off against New Orleans Pelicans, had 21 points and rebounds there. December 7th, faced off against the LA Clippers, had 28 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then December 9th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 10 points and rebounds there. December 13th, faced off against the Golden State Warriors, had 22 points and rebounds. And then against Sacramento Kings, had 25 points and rebounds on December 15th. So he's definitely done a fantastic job for sure over the last 5 games, but we do like the under for this situation here. Now, his average over the last 5 is 21.2, so slightly just above this line. But when we actually look at Jaden McDaniels and their matchup, we do know that Minnesota Timberwolves have themselves a very good matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, looking at where both these teams do rank, starting off with actually Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota Timberwolves have had a great start to the season for sure, but they definitely have struggled quite a little bit because they still find themselves in the 6th spot in the Western Conference. Now, a lot of people thought they would be a lot better, but they currently rank 6th. They have 17 wins, 9 losses, a 65.4% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 9-4 from home, 8-5 from away, and are currently on a 2-game win streak. So very interesting to see from actually Minnesota Timberwolves. They have definitely struggled just a little bit, but they are still in the playoff picture, so they haven't really done that bad. And they face off against a Memphis Grizzlies team who do rank lower, however, and Memphis have had struggle streak this season because they currently rank 9th in the Western Conference. Now, they have a record of 12 wins and 14 losses. That's a 46.2% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 6-7 from home, 6-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting. Now, looking at both of these teams, although very differently ranked in a sense, one is in the playoff picture while other isn't, they are still somewhat closely ranked, I would still say. And when we actually look at Memphis Grizzlies defensively, we do see Grizzlies ranked 12th when it comes to points allowed, and they actually, restrict and allow only 115 points. And then looking at rebounds allowed, we also do find that the Memphis Grizzlies do rank somewhat decent, as they rank actually 16th, and they also allow only 44 rebounds. So they actually are a very good defensive team. Obviously, they are a little bit lower in rebounds, but they are pretty high in points. But overall, what we do see when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies is that Memphis Grizzlies actually do a really good job at restricting points and rebounds to the forward position. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for someone like Jaden McDaniels coming into this game. We definitely have seen him, do a great job at times, but he has faced off against much easier teams over the last 5. And when we see him face off against a tough team, which he did against Phoenix, we did see him struggle in the points and also rebounding department. Now, McDaniels, I wouldn't say has the highest usage rate in the team as well, so that definitely has a huge effect on actually Jaden McDaniels' line, as most people are expecting, him to actually take a little bit more of a backseat to other players in this Minnesota team. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under there. Now, looking at someone like, Jaden McDaniels, we do also see when it comes to Jaden, we see that over the last matchups he has faced off against Memphis. Now, all of these are from last season, so you definitely want to take him with a little bit of a grain of salt. But I still thought it is still very good to share it, I do believe. So Jaden McDaniels, we saw last season, in their first game against each other. We saw him have 21 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Then their second matchup against each other, we saw him have 11 points, 12 rebounds, and also 1 assist there. And then we also saw in their third matchup against each other, we also saw 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist there. So, he did go on the under in 1 out of those 3 games, but as I mentioned before, take this with a grain of salt. It was from last season, so, I definitely still think it was still pretty important just to show you just in case. But looking at, Jaden McDaniels as well, now there's a prop bet analyzer, and I absolutely love this website, and I'm just going to start using it, for the picks that we go through. But we also see that they actually have him projected to only hit 18.5 when it comes to points and rebounds. So they actually have him for the under for this one, which I think is really interesting to see. We see over the last 15 games, as I mentioned, the last 5 games were, a little bit skewed because he has faced off against much easier teams. But what we have seen from actually, Jaden McDaniels in total over the last 15, we definitely have seen him struggle for sure to be able to go on the over. So that's why we do very much like the under for it. So for that reason, we definitely are expecting the under for someone like Jaden McDaniels coming into this game. And for that reason, looking at it, Jaden McDaniels 20.5 points and rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're actually going to be talking about another great player, and that is none other than Darius Garland. So Darius Garland, great player, as we all know. Now, this one is a fantastic one because this is for 3-pointers made. So this one is a great one for 3-pointers made for 2.5 for Darius Garland, and this one is for less. Now, looking at Darius Garland, we have seen him go on the under in actually 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, this one's an interesting one because we did see December 1st faced off against Boston, had 4 3-pointers made there. December 4th faced off against Portland Trailblazers, had 1 3-pointer made there. December 7th faced off against the Golden State Warriors, had 1 3-pointer made there. Then December 13th faced off against Washington, had 0 3-pointers made. And then December 15th faced off against Charlotte and had 3 3-pointers made there. So very interesting to see because we have seen, Darius Garland go on the under in 3 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 1.8. So really good to see for the pick, which is what we like, which is the under for it. But looking at Darius Garland and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have themselves a very good matchup against none other than actually Chicago Bulls. Now, looking at the matchup between both of these teams, both are in the Eastern Conference, and looking at where both of these teams do rank, starting off with actually Cleveland. Cleveland have struggled quite a little bit as of lately because they currently find themselves in the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference. So they've definitely struggled just a little bit. Now, not only that are they only ranked 7th, but on top of that, we also do see they have a record of 15 wins and 12 losses. That's a 55.6% win percentage there. They're also 9-7 from home, 6-5 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know that they face off against the Chicago Bulls team, who did start off the season very well, but unfortunately they have fallen quite a bit because Chicago Bulls now find themselves in the actual 11th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now they have a record of 10 wins and 15 losses. That's a 40% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 6-6 from home, 4-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see, coming into this matchup. Now it has definitely been a very interesting time for Darius Garland, but what we also do see when it comes to Garland and also the matchup against Chicago, looking at Chicago Bulls and where they do rank defensively, looking at 3-point percentages allowed, we do see that Chicago Bulls do rank 20th, and they actually allow a 3-point percentage of 37.2. Looking at 3-point attempts allowed, we see that the Bulls do rank a little bit better as they rank 17th, only allowing 37 3-point attempts. And then the 3-point makes allowed, we see that the Bulls also rank a little bit lower, but still somewhat in the same range, as they do allow 13 3-pointers. So allow 13.6 to be specific, but looking at that, we do also know when it comes to Chicago, they do a great job, at restricting 3-point attempts, 3-point percentage, 3-point makes. Now, although they are, I would say, in a little bit of the higher above average sort of tier when it comes to their defensives all throughout the whole 3-pointing category, we still do like the under for this, because when we look on a per position basis, we do see that Chicago Bulls do a fantastic job at restricting 3-pointers to the guard position. So we definitely see someone like Darius Garland going on the under here. When it comes to actually Garland as well, we also have seen him just struggle over the last 5 games as well to be able to hit this line. And that's definitely due to the fact that the play style that Darius Garland does like to run is definitely a little bit more skewed towards, playing inside, playing that mid-range, and just really attacking the basket as much as they can. Now, looking at Garland facing off against Chicago, now all of these games, similar to Jaden McDaniels, is all from last season, so take it with a grain of salt for sure. But looking at their matchups and looking at where actually Darius Garland finished, we actually saw in their first matchup together, he only made 1 3-pointer. Their second matchup last season had 4. Then the third matchup had 5. And then the last matchup they had against each other, he had 6. So, obviously he did go in the over on some of those games. But as I mentioned before, you got to take this with a grain of salt. This is a completely different season, different team, different matchups, and all those things to take into consideration. But I still did think that it would have been a good idea just to still show you as well. Now, looking at Darius Garland on the prop bet analyzer, we do actually see that the bookies have him favored for the under as well. So that's also a great sign for us there. But when we look at his projection, the projection is only 2.23s, which is why we do like the under for it. And on top of that, we also see the season prop record being 5-6, 5 being over, and then 6 being under as well. So pretty interesting to see there. Now, looking at his last 15 games, this is where it starts to get very evident how much Darius Garland's game has changed. Yes, he was hitting a lot of threes last season, but this season is a completely different sort of situation here. And because of that, we do actually know when it comes to Darius Garland over the last 15 games, he's really struggled to hit this line. And we definitely are expecting that to happen again, or once again in this next matchup for sure. And the fact that the bookies agree with us there is definitely a telltale sign to us there. So for that reason, Darius Garland, keep an eye out for it. So Darius Garland, 2.5 3-pointers made for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're actually going to be talking about his teammate, and that is none other than Donovan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell, great player as we all know. Now, this one, however, is for assist for 5.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Donovan Mitchell, we have seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on December 4th, faced off against Portland Trailblazers. Actually had 4 assists there. December 6th, faced off against the San Antonio Spurs, had 8 assists there. December 7th, faced off against the Golden State Warriors, had 3 assists. Then December 13th, faced off against Washington Wizards, had 4 assists in that matchup. And then December 15th, faced off against Charlotte Hornets and had 7 assists there. So we have seen Donovan Mitchell go on the under quite consistently compared to the over. Now, when we actually look at this, we do also know when it comes to actually Donovan Mitchell and also the matchup between Cleveland and Chicago, we do also know that Donovan Mitchell not only has gone to the under in 3 out of the last 5, but his average over the last 5 is also 5.2. So slightly below this line as well. Now looking at Cleveland, we do know that they have themselves a really good matchup against the Chicago Bulls. And just to quickly remind you again about this matchup, we have mentioned this before, but Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they've actually ranked 7th in the Eastern Conference. Now they actually have a record of 15 wins and 12 losses. That's a 55.6% win percentage there. They're also 9-7 from home, 6-5 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. And they face off against Chicago Bulls, where Chicago Bulls do come in at the 11th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 10 wins, 15 losses. That's a 40% win percentage there. And on top of that, 6-6 from home, 4-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see from Donovan Mitchell coming into this game. Now looking at Cleveland and their matchup against Chicago Bulls, we do actually see when it comes to assists allowed, we do see that Chicago Bulls do rank when it comes to that. They surprisingly rank 21st. And when it comes to that as well, not only do they rank 21st, but they do allow 27.3 assists per game. So that is a little bit on the lower side. So why do we like the under for this? Now, when we look at Chicago Bulls, they actually do a pretty decent job at restricting assists to the guard position. But another big thing about this is that when it comes to actually Donovan Mitchell and why we do like the under is that what we have seen with his play style and the way that Cleveland do like to run Donovan Mitchell as of lately, it's definitely led to more of an under sort of situation where he's gone on the under. And on top of that, not only has he gone on the under, but he has gone on the under quite consistently. When you watch Cleveland, and if you ever have watched the Cleveland Cavaliers game, Donovan Mitchell is out there to really just score and be that player for this Cleveland team. It hasn't really led to them being successful in the Eastern Conference, as they do rank pretty low, but it is definitely the game plan that they have been running with. And the fact that Donovan Mitchell hasn't been able to hit this line consistently and has had his usage rate kind of taken away from him in this sense, we definitely see him going on the under here. Now, looking at Donovan Mitchell over his last matchups actually against Chicago Bulls, we actually did see him face off against them this season, which is great to see. Now, we do know when it comes to Donovan Mitchell, we do know that he actually does rank very well as a player, but we did see him in this matchup also have 29 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal. So he did a great job there. So for that reason, although he did do a great job in that matchup, they were facing a lot of injuries at that game, and it did lead to an increase in his usage rate overall. So for that reason, coming into this next one, we are definitely expecting the under, with a lot of the more Cleveland Cavaliers starting to play again. They did start off the season with a lot of injuries, but now they've made their way back to having somewhat more of a full type roster, and it definitely has taken a huge hit on Donovan Mitchell's sort of usage rate out there, especially in the assist department, which is why we do very, very much like the under for it. So, I definitely would keep an eye out for that. Now, looking at Donovan Mitchell over the actual, prop bet analysis, we do see that their projection is actually 5.3 assists. Now, the bookies actually have him favored for the under as well, which I think is interesting to see there. And we also see his season prop record being 12-13, 12 being over, and then 13 being under. But the bookies do agree with us. Now, looking at his last 15 games, it definitely has been pretty interesting to see. He has done very well in some games. Other games has definitely struggled. But what we have seen when it comes to Donovan Mitchell is that the games that he does actually struggle with are usually the ones against, tougher defenses to his position. And the fact that Chicago do a great job against his position as well, unfortunately, we are expecting the under for someone like Donovan here. He has been able to take advantage of easier teams, but coming into this next matchup, we should see a bit of a different story, unfortunately. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for Donovan Mitchell coming into this game. As I mentioned before, when we look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well. So that works out in our favor there. So Donovan Mitchell, 5.5 assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about Coby White. So Coby White, great player as we all know. And this one is a fantastic one for 2.5 3-pointers made. And this one actually is for less. Now looking at Coby White, obviously some of these picks definitely have had some, I would say, connection with each other as there are from the same games, but there isn't too many games in the NBA. But we do very much like this pick because when we look at Coby White, we have seen him go on the under in actually 5 out of the last 5 games. Now this one has been kind of a really interesting pick because we have seen Coby White definitely struggle. We do actually see when it comes to those 5 games, November 29th, he actually faced off against the Charlotte Hornets, had 1 3-pointer made there. We saw on December 6th, faced off against Indiana Pacers, had 1 3-pointer made there. On top of that, December 8th, faced off against the Golden State Warriors, had 0 3-pointers made in that matchup. 1 3-pointer made against Charlotte on December 13th. And then New Orleans Pelicans, they faced off against, had 1 3-pointer on December 15th. So it has been pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at those 5 games, we have seen Coby White struggle quite a bit. And on top of that, his average over the last 5 is also 0.80. So it hasn't really looked too good from Coby White in the 3-point line. And as we all know, when it comes to Chicago, they have themselves a very good matchup against none other than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I think we have mentioned their rankings multiple times, but I do have to just quickly mention Chicago. They rank 11th in the Eastern Conference. Now, over the last 10 games, so this is just the last 10 games, they've actually had a record of 2-8. So Chicago have definitely struggled as a team over the last couple of games, and it definitely has been a struggle for them. Cavaliers on the other side, they've also struggled a little bit. Now they find themselves in the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference, but they also have a record of 4 wins and 6 losses. So much better, compared to Chicago Bulls. But looking at actually Cleveland Cavaliers and where they do rank when it comes to 3-point percentage allowed, we do see 3-point percentage allowed. Cleveland Cavaliers do rank 21st, where they actually allow a 36.6% 3-point percentage there. Looking at 3-point attempts allowed, we see that Cleveland Cavaliers rank 11th as they allow 36 3-pointers. And then 3-point makes allowed, we see Cleveland Cavaliers rank 15th, where they only allow 13.1. So it's definitely been pretty interesting for Coby White. We have definitely seen him, struggle a lot. And on top of that, the fact that Cleveland Cavaliers is a really, I would say a really solid sort of team when it comes to restricting 3-pointers. We definitely see someone like Coby White going on the under there. Now it is a mixture of Cleveland being a great 3-point defensive team, and on top of that, Coby White just struggling when it comes to, getting 3-point balls on the board. And because of that, we definitely are expecting the outcome for this to be on the under. Now looking at Coby White against Cleveland, or their last matchups against each other. Now all of these were from last season, so you do have to take this with a grain of salt. But we saw their first matchup against each other. He had 5 3-pointers made there. Their second matchup, he had 6 3-pointers. And their third matchup, they had 3 3-pointers. So it is pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at that, we do definitely see he has gone on the over. But as I mentioned, take this with a grain of salt. It is a completely different season. Definitely new teams, new sort of lineup, and especially a new game plan for Chicago. And we have seen Coby White take a little bit more of a different type of role for this team. And it hasn't really led him to a lot of 3-point scoring for sure. Now looking at Coby White and actually looking at this 9 for 2.5 3-pointers made, we actually do see that they actually have him favored for the under as well, which I think is pretty interesting to see there. Now when we actually look at those last 15 games, he has struggled quite a bit. Some of these other games he's definitely done very well, but I do believe he is in a little bit of a cold streak, and we are expecting that to continue on into this next game for sure. And he has faced off against easier teams on the 3-point line, and he definitely still has struggled. So that hasn't really been the greatest sign for us, which is why we do very much still like the under for it. Now, when we look at the projection, we do see the projection here they have is actually 2.6. So, we are kind of going against the grain here, but it is kind of contradictory because because when we look at what the bookies are saying, the bookies actually have him favored for the under as well. So pretty interesting to see. Now, he has definitely been on a cold streak as of lately, so we are taking that recency bias into account because it definitely does, kind of play into the next game for sure, especially against a matchup like Cleveland that do a great job at that. Now, you do also have to remember when it comes to Cleveland, they are a much slower paced team compared to Chicago. And what Cleveland have done great all season is that they've done a fantastic job at slowing down the pace greatly. So coming into this game, slower pace leads to less volume and less volume for Coby White for sure. So that's why we are definitely liking the under for someone like Coby coming into this game. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for this one. This has been a very hot pick in a sense that very popular, and we are going to be going with the under and sticking to it there. So Coby White, 2.5 3-pointers made for less, I think is a fantastic pick.